So I will just start by asking Jóhannes to come and tell us what he has to say at this moment, and without further delay, actually. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, and I'm pleased to be here and have the chance to speak with about a story I worked on for so long, and to be here with Eva Sjólis, who has been fighting tax evasion and tax havens for many years, and yeah. So, but I want to start to talk about the reality journalists face when they are trying to find the real owners of an offshore company. Maybe you will get a tip about a company, and you, of course, start by Googling it. And then, if you are lucky, then you will find some, you will have some result. And then you will find, if you are lucky, some directors of the company. And if you look further, then the directors are directors in thousands of other companies. And if you are extremely lucky, then you maybe can get the name of the person who has the power of attorney for the company, and that can be another offshore company. And in reality, it is almost impossible for a journalist to find the real owners of an offshore company. It's really hard, and there is an organization in Sarajevo called OCCRP, Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project. And they have specialized in finding the owners of offshore companies, and they have done a really good job. And they have helped me in my past research, and but they have to do it manually. They have to go to the place and try to get some information. So it is really hard to get the information about the beneficial owners of offshore companies. So in June last year, I was invited to Washington, D.C. to the ICIJ headquarters, and we were about 15 journalists on this first meeting. The director of ICIJ, Gerard Ryle, he introduced the Panama Papers and the leak, and none of us understood what we were looking at that time. Not until the technical officer of ICIJ started to introduce the database and how we could search for names and companies and everything. And when I started to search in the database for Iceland and Reykjavik and Kópavogur and all the usual suspects, the names, the banksters and the business people, I was, of course, amazed. And everyone around me were amazed, because Iceland, as we all know now, is really big in the Panama Papers. And the Panama Papers give us a rare insight into the secret offshore world, where everything is about hiding money, avoid paying taxes, hiding assets, and to have a company to hide money from the drug market or from criminal organizations. So when I started to search the database, it was not an easy task, because I could search for a name and I got maybe 200 search results, and I had to check everything. And for example, you got a PDF file, and you had to go through maybe 100, 200 pages of PDF pages, and sometimes you didn't find the name. It was an error in the database. And I have heard some criticism about my work for 9 months, searching and working on all the stories. Why did it take such a long time to do only this? But I was not working alone. I was working with a group of journalists all around the world, and because Iceland was so big, then I was helping a lot of journalists all around, because a cooperation is like this is called cross-border journalism, and you don't say no if someone asks for help. So for me and for all the journalists, the Panama Papers revealed how companies and law offices built up their secrecy, and you all know that by seeing the stories or reading the stories from the Panama Papers. I don't have to go through that. I also want to use the opportunity to talk about the interview with the Prime Minister, because myself and my colleagues, we have been criticized heavily for that interview, but we didn't decide to do it like this just a few days before the interview. Gerard Ryle, the director of ICIJ, came to Iceland in December last year, and there we discussed how we should do it. And knowing that Iceland is a small country and everybody knows everything, if I, as a journalist, pretty well known in Iceland, would take up the phone and call and ask for a company called Wintris, then the word would spread out fast. So that I couldn't do that until just right before the story broke. So, and we, the foreign journalists that were working on this interview with me, they said, okay, if you invite the Prime Minister for an interview about Wintris, then all his assistants, they will get the chance to manipulate the story before you interview him. So that was a crucial thing, of course. And nothing, if you searched for Wintris on the internet, you had to search you have to go, deep in Google to find something about Wintris, and the only thing you could find was that Wintris was a creditor in the banks. So we decided to do it like this, to take the interview like this, from pure journalism. We discussed the ethical part of it, and we all agreed that this was ethical. This was such a big story. We were talking about the Prime Minister of Iceland, and as my foreign journalist colleagues said, well, he is the Prime Minister. He should be able to answer all questions, even regarding an offshore company he owns. So, and the most important thing for me is that the story is right. Nothing has been, the story is right, and the other part is that we offered the former Prime Minister several times to another interview, so that was another important ethical part in all the regarding all this. But the headline of this event is "The World After the Panama Papers." Few days ago, Transparency International posted a story on its website, and the headline was, "British Virgin Islands, have they cleaned up since the Panama Papers?" According to the story, only 16,000 new companies registered in the first half of 2016, a drop by 30% compared to the same period last year. 16,000 companies were registered in the British Virgin Islands the first 6 months of this year. So that is a lot of companies. And there has been some penalties by the BVI authorities. The highest penalty was $31,500 applied to Mossack Fonseca BVI branch. The providers of offshore companies, mostly internet companies where you can go online and register a company, must laugh at the amount because a basic incorporation package in the BVI starts at $1,375 and can cost up to $5,325 for BVI Premium International Business Company owned by a Belize trust. With those kinds of fees, the average offshore provider in BVI can recover from a $31,500 administrative fine within a few days. So we are not talking about a lot of money here. So in reality, what has changed? I remember when I was working on the story in March with my colleague Aðalsteinn and my colleagues from the national television, we actually talked about and asked ourselves, will this change something? We didn't have the answer then, but we know what changed here in Iceland, and we don't have to discuss about that. But has something changed in the world when we are looking at the offshore world? Yes, some governments has been changing the laws and regulations. Tax authorities are investigating some companies and using the Panama Papers to do that. And but I think the most important thing is for the public, because the public now knows how this world works. And the power of the public is, of course, important. But I know also that next time, the guy with the money, he will think, okay, maybe all information about my company will be leaked to ICIJ or some other news organization. So I have to be more careful now. Because we are not talking about that Mossack Fonseca is the only law firm that are doing this, even though Mossack Fonseca is big in Panama. But there are thousands of law offices and accounting offices that are doing the same. So, and I have been, one of the Icelandic banks, Landsbankinn, was really big in the Panama Papers with at least 404 companies formed by Mossack Fonseca for Landsbankinn. But what about Kaupthing and what about Glitnir at that time? What office did they use to form some offshore companies? I would really like to have that leak. But at the end, I just want to talk about Reykjavik Media, the company I founded after the Panama Papers. not myself, but me and my colleagues, we are working on more stories from the Panama Papers and some other stories, of course. And I've been abroad a lot, being asked to talk on conferences regarding the Panama Papers, and that has been great for me, because in every trip I get a tip about a story linked to Iceland, because the world is a small place at the end. But as always, when I talk on conferences, I ask you to contact me if you have any stories, and maybe and hopefully we can publish something important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jóhannes.